I do want to now welcome, I saw him here in the studio, my next guest into the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. Community organizer David Norton is around the corner.
Hello, Kate.
Welcome back. You've been here before.
Yes, I have.
Well, wanted to bring you back in. I believe I'd seen probably instantaneously when we heard that new legislation was going to be put forth to, again, consider the Paw Sox moving to the Apex location. Late in the session, I think there was immediately a ping on Facebook about resurrecting the Facebook group of those folks who have concerns about prior deals, current deals. What were your reactions when you had gotten that news that they're going back and looking to now actually go back in the fall?
Well, I thought it was pretty insane because, I mean, people in Rhode Island and even in Pawtucket are really upset when you just mention anything about the Paw Sox moving or the Paw Sox owners who are collectively billionaires getting any tax money. So immediately, as you said, Facebook and social media started to light up, and I heard, the same complaints I've been hearing for the past 2 years. And we fought this fight 2 years ago. We thought we won it, then we kind of fought it again this year. We thought we won it, and now they're hoping for this fall session. And it's very, very upsetting to Rhode Islanders, and it's also upsetting to the people in Pawtucket. Like, we did a poll, and we did the poll on the You're from Pawtucket Facebook page. So we had a sample size was about 200 people, and I believe there were 160 or so that were dead set against the Paw Sox getting $15 million from the city of Pawtucket. It was a very specific question.
Okay.
I even have the poll here, if you'd like me to.
Can pull up the numbers. I use this as a reference, with the broken screen at all.
Yeah, so here are the numbers right here with a very specific question.
Tony, can we see this? So maybe read off the numbers here for us, the specific question and the answers.
Yeah, so should Pawtucket give $15 million of taxpayer money to the Paw Sox owners for a new stadium on the Apex site? No's have it at 163. The yeses come in at 32. I don't knows come in at 8. Then you have renovate McCoy Stadium, which was a suggestion by someone taking the poll at 7. And no tax breaks, no cash, which was another suggestion at 5 people. So clearly you've got 80% of the people that have lived in Pawtucket or are involved in Pawtucket and love Pawtucket. They do not want any Pawtucket taxpayer money, and I would argue state money also, going to the billionaire owners.
Now, what do you think of this new, when we've been hearing a little bit more about this new legislation, and we had heard what had happened last time. We had the initial reaction from the governor following Commerce that she thought it looked like a good deal, and as more information came out, her concern was having the state backstop Pawtucket's bonds, and now it looks like this particular legislation would make Pawtucket responsible.
Yep.
For that type of reaction, sort of what you hear from folks, could Pawtucket afford it if it was not to be successful?
No, Pawtucket definitely can't afford it. There's already a $5 million projected deficit. Pawtucket's been struggling for a long time. It's a struggling community. The schools are broken. We need recreation centers. We need all kinds of stuff. And we depend on state aid. And the interesting thing about this new proposal is that nothing has changed in it except the backstop has now changed from the state of Rhode Island to the city of Pawtucket being able to take state aid, the aid that it gets from the state, to run programs in Pawtucket that are very vital to vulnerable populations and others. They'll be able to take that money away from services in Pawtucket. And there was also some weird mention of the car tax, and the state's reimbursement of the car tax to the city of Pawtucket is a potential source for the backstop.
So were you surprised? Did you think that after what had happened sort of end of May, when again we heard from the governor, we heard from the Senate president, just not enough time, to be standing here end of June, were you surprised, or does nothing surprise you at this point?
No, I was really surprised. I really thought that they would have to lose their mind to do something like this, because this is such a political wrecking ball, especially for Governor Raimondo. And yesterday I tried to reach out to Lincoln Chafee and ask him what he thought about all of this, and he hasn't gotten back to me yet. But if you're out there, Link, please put your 2 cents in. This is a great opportunity.
Hit Dave, hit me. You've been in the studio here. I don't know where you are right now, but sure, let us know. So, literally being introduced today, we're at the end of the session. The speaker says we're going to go into the fall. What do you expect the summertime to look like?
I expect my summertime to be very busy trying to organize people to either fight the speaker, the governor, or the Senate president, or the whole lot of the General Assembly, because that's one of the things that worked 2 years ago, is we put up a list of people that were supportive or in opposition to the Paw Sox proposal, moving them to Providence. And that really generated a lot of calls to me personally from legislators, which was kind of surprising. So if we have to go through that again, we will. I know a lot of the legislators. I like a lot of the legislators, but I don't want them to vote to do this, to move the stadium to the apex.
Do you expect we'll see? Do you think we'll see any? What do you expect we'll see from the Paw Sox? Last time around, back in 16, they were going through the listening tour.
Yeah.
Do you expect we'll see more PR efforts from the Paw Sox at this point, or do you think this is just really inside political baseball right now?
I do think it's inside political baseball right now. If I were them,
no pun intended.
I would put out a huge marketing campaign to apologize to Pawtucket and the residents and the taxpayers and try to smooth things over. But even if they did that, I think at this point, this thing has been simmering for 2 years, and every time you bring it up, it's much like the car tax. When you bring up the car tax in Pawtucket or Providence, people just go off. They can't stop talking about it, complaining about it. They hate it. It's very similar to the Paw Sox situation. When you mention it to people that they want to move the stadium, they just want nothing to do with it.
And what do you see? What if they go back in the fall, and what if it's approved? Then what?
Well, that's an interesting question.
It's a very open-ended question, but it's also, could possibly happen.
I think it will be, as I said before, a political wrecking ball for the next election cycle. And a lot of people will point to the tolls and say, everybody said they hated the tolls and that was going to be a political wrecking ball for a lot of legislators, and it wasn't. But the tolls issue was on our mind for a couple of months. This issue is going to have been there for almost 3 years, and I think it's got the saturation in the from the media and in Rhode Island with voters enough to really affect elections.
There are some parallels though with the tolls. Again, the time differential. So again, if it were to be approved in the fall of 17, elections not until fall of 18, but elections do start in earnest, let's be honest, sort of at the beginning of the calendar year. So there's actually not that much time. I mean, calendar year wise, yes, between where it would be in the fall and where it would be the actual election. But you're saying that just by lieu of the fact that it's been so much in the news that it's just not going anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And the more they bring up the Paw Sox issue, any suggestion of the Paw Sox moving or the Paw Sox changing something upsets people. It really, really upsets them. I can see on all of the Facebook pages, my own organization and the other organizations that are opposed to the Paw Sox moving to Apex. People are still very, very angry, and this anger is building and the opposition's building.
So what was your last 24 hours like? As you said, you were hearing from people, but again, being at this 11th hour in the General Assembly session, was there just, the sort of acquiescence of, okay, well, this is going to go and we're going to have a fall session?
No, I think people are ready to fight. And
right now?
Yep, right now and up until the fall session. And I had a lot of political insiders and people on the periphery contacting me saying, oh, well, you should do this with the governor, you should do this with the speaker, a kind of political messaging, how we're going to oppose this. So there's been a lot of activity, and I'm kind of tired of this issue, but I'm ready to dedicate all my time to it again.
As you said, you're tired. You've done it for a while. So, as you said, you're going to just rally the troops up again. What type of activity do you expect to happen this summer? Is it mostly in social media? Do you expect anything sort of in-person rallies and events?
I think it'll be mostly social media, contacting legislators, trying to stay in the media, but I think most of the media, the mainstream media, has pulled back, or the local mainstream media has pulled back from this issue on the opposition side. So it'll be tough, but I think that the legislators are swayable, the governor's swayable, especially if Lincoln Chafee wants to chime in on this. I really would appreciate that, just to get his position. I'm not sure he's going to run for governor, but he
is a former governor.
He's given us his position on other things concerning Governor Raimondo, and I'm a progressive Democrat. We've had an argument on the Progressive Democrats page about Raimondo versus Chafee.
Oh, very interesting. Because I thought you were going to talk about the argument, the back and forth between the Progressive Democrats and the traditional Democrats. It's something that Go Local's written about in the past.
Oh yeah, I've been watching. Oh yeah.
So what do you have to say to that? Now, if folks haven't read this or seen this, after the budget came out of House Finance, Progressive Democrats of America, the Rhode Island Progressive Democrats of America, the RIPDA, had sent out the statement saying, urging Democrats not to support it. Got fired back from senior advisor Bill Lynch of the Democratic Party. Had some very strong words for the Progressive Democrats, saying that all they wanted to do was increase taxes, and then they in turn fired back at Bill Lynch. Now, we had Bill in the studio, and he was much more conciliatory than, than some of the language. Let's talk to that before we talk to Raimondo Chafee. What is going on inside the party?
Well, the Progressive Democrats, led by the remnant of the idea of Bernie Sanders, are trying to push Rhode Island Democrats to the left, because if you take a look at the General Assembly, the majority of them are endorsed by Right to Life and NRA. And these are Democrats we're talking about. So, and this is Rhode Island, which is supposed to be a very...
Dinos, if you will.
A very liberal state. So it's not only that, but it's tax cuts for the rich and all of the other things that were explained in the press release about why we were upset about this budget. But part of that is also political positioning, as far as I'm concerned, because the powers that be in Rhode Island, especially Speaker Mattiello, has moved to the left quite a bit with this budget, I believe.
Okay.
So I think the Progressive Democrats' press release was very strong, but it needed to be strong, and starting a fight with Bill Lynch is a very smart idea, I think, because Bill Lynch should explain why the Rhode Island Democratic Party supports candidates that are endorsed by the NRA and Right to Life, because those are two huge Republican fundamentals that aren't really seen as part of the Democratic Party.
That you make a case. And what of the fight on social media between progressive Democrats, Chafee versus Raimondo, which again is hypothetical, but clearly there sounds like there's been some discourse.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of the more conservative-minded progressives, if you can even say that, kind of support Raimondo, but that's because they don't like Chafee, I guess. I'm not really sure, but Chafee's got it probably 70%, 30%. And the 30% that are supporting Raimondo are people that are inside our circle or on the periphery.
So speculation again, he hasn't said anything, he's been in studio a few times. If he were to run, would it be a Democrat or an independent?
I don't know. He's playing that card very, very well. He's made a couple of statements that were interesting. I think he mentioned something about Russia and the investigation there, and you would think that he'd be totally on the other side. Please investigate Russia and so on and so forth, but he wasn't. He was on the opposite side, like, oh, I think it's too much and stuff like that. So I am really not sure. I think he could pull it off either way. If he went as an independent, you've got a lot of progressives that are tired of the DNC in the Democratic Party, and they're tired of the dinos in Rhode Island, so they would go full steam ahead. I think that Lincoln Chafee has a fantastic opportunity because he's already hit Raimondo with these fantastic messages, political messaging. He could do either. I don't know which would be more expensive, if it were for him to win the primary and then go on to win the general election, or if he wanted to face her as an independent and then try to split the vote 3 ways. So we'll have to see if Ken Block gets into it, Alan Fung.
Still waiting on the mayor. And of course on the Republican side, we've heard rumblings over there. We've heard rumblings from Trillo. We've heard rumblings from
that's right, yeah.
a bunch of folks. So it's, we're here in the summer of 17, but clearly election cycle is in full swing. So again, you thought you were out of the Paw Sox world, you're back in it, so we'll expect to hear more from you and sort of what folks are saying in terms of what's up at the State House right now and what we're looking at in the fall. So I'm sure we'll be talking soon. We'd like to hear from all sides on all the issues, but as I said, I saw that social media was all abuzz with this latest Paw Sox proposal in the fall session, as Speaker Mattiello did say today. So be keeping tabs on that here at Go Local. I'm sure we certainly will as well. David Norton, I appreciate your coming in today.
Thank you, Kate.
We'll leave you off to the races.
Thank you.
And I'm sure we'll talk soon, okay? David Norton, community organizer in Pawtucket, had him in studio here today with the latest news that the Pawtucket Red Sox ownership has new legislation that they're looking to then get to a fall session for consideration. Too late in the game this year for consideration, but again, changing a few tweaks after last time. It was called too late in the session, but then again, the governor's major concern was that the bonding with Pawtucket, the backstop, if they couldn't fulfill that, would be the state. Now it's back to Pawtucket, and just talking with the Pawtucket resident about his feelings on that. So hopefully we'll have more folks here in the studio as this issue moves forward. As I said, want to hear all sides on this and want to hear from you as well. So thanks for